You are taught to chase money, to reach for it, plead for it, and prove yourself worthy of it. But money does not answer emotion. It answers law. In the divine structure of the universe, money is not a prize for the anxious, nor a reward for the hardworking. It is a substance, obedient, invisible, precise, and it flows only to where spiritual structure is established. Not emotional structure, not effort-based structure, but law. This is why so many who try everything still receive nothing. They desire more, but obey nothing. They affirm lack while asking for supply. They speak of scarcity as if it were real, and the law responds with confirmation. They do not know they are decreeing. Every time they say, "I never have enough," or "it always disappears," they are giving spiritual instruction. And spiritual law never argues. It does not evaluate your circumstances. It simply obeys. There is no truth in lack, only repetition. You may believe you are just being honest, but honesty without law is sabotage. The subconscious does not filter for context. It does not pause to clarify your intention. It acts upon tone, pattern, and spoken decree. What you repeat with feeling, whether you mean it or not, becomes your spiritual instruction, and instruction becomes form. A woman once came to me, weary and confused. Her income always arrived late, just enough to survive. Never more. She was not lazy. She was not irresponsible. But each night, before sleep, she whispered, "I just hope I make it through tomorrow." And so she did. Day after day. Barely. Just as she instructed. The law did not delay her blessing. Her word did. You do not receive what you need. You receive what you command, consciously or unconsciously, through clarity or through chaos. The law cannot disobey, and your world cannot rise above the tone of your most repeated sentence. Some think they can say anything, so long as they don't mean it. But there is no such thing as idle speech. The subconscious does not sleep. It is your silent servant, recording and responding with perfect fidelity. It keeps no opinion. It simply builds what you decree. All the good that is to be made manifest in your life is already completed in divine mind. You are not creating prosperity. You are permitting it. You are not inventing your supply. You are receiving it from a realm that already holds it as finished. But access is granted only through recognition. And recognition is made through the spoken word. That is why the tongue must be trained before the wallet can overflow. Every word must become sacred. Every phrase a contract. You do not joke about being broke. You do not complain about the cost of living. You do not curse your paycheck or gossip about your debts. These words may seem harmless, but they are not harmless in spiritual law. They are instructions. And when instructions are given often enough, they become demonstration. There was once a student who constantly delayed her manifestations. I asked her, "Do you have a habit of leaving things unfinished?" She admitted she did. Half-finished projects, unread letters, unwritten thank yous. I told her, "Then your subconscious has made delay your default. It is obeying your rhythm." She went home and completed a task she had abandoned weeks before. A small thing, a piece of clothing left unsewn. But something shifted. Shortly after, her husband received double pay. An overpayment he was told to keep. That is law. It answers the tone beneath your actions. If you carry disorder, it carries delay. If you move in alignment, it releases substance. Spiritual supply does not respond to urgency. It responds to divine completion. And that is why obedience is not about morality. It is about alignment. When you speak what is true in divine mind, even before you see it, you enter a current of exact provision. You stop asking for the future and begin occupying what is eternally present. This is not fantasy. This is correction. But access is granted only through recognition. You're speaking what is true in divine mind. Even before you see it, you enter a current of exact provision. That is law. It answers the tone beneath your actions. You are not here to talk about what is. You are here to declare what must be. You are not here to explain why things are broken. You are here to speak restoration into the system. This is your spiritual jurisdiction. And until you claim it, the world will seem random, hostile, resistant. But the world is none of those things. It is obedient. It is obedient. This is where we truly are needed. You are not here to talk about what is. You are here to declare what must be. You are not here to dash rhythm for creative and destination. You are not here to invent anything but the power of delay. You are not here to report instrumentalism. You are here to talk about the great and the lasting things. It is inevitable. It answers that if you feel blocked, check your instruction. If you feel delayed, check your pattern. If you feel abandoned, check your tongue. Somewhere, the law is following your word precisely. And if your word has been soaked in fear, you will receive fear's image. If your word has been soaked in reverence, you will receive order. This is not punishment. This is design. And when you finally speak from that place of stillness, not emotion, not desperation, but alignment, you will no longer ask the law to help you. You will command it to obey its own structure. You will no longer beg for supply. You will become supply, speaking into visibility what already exists in the divine. It begins not with effort, not with trying harder, being smarter, doing more. It begins with a single shift. You become silent enough to hear the law and obedient enough to speak only what belongs. Most people do not realize that their greatest spiritual block is not hatred, nor fear, nor even doubt. It is the feeling of needing. Need sounds innocent. It sounds sincere. But under divine law, need is a declaration of separation. It tells the universe, I do not have. I am not connected. Supply is far away from me. And the law, hearing your voice, reflects it back with precision. Need is not alignment. It is resistance pretending to be prayer. A woman once came to me and said, I truly need this money. Why is it not coming? I told her, because you speak as if you are disconnected from your own source. You are not poor. You are plugged, but you do not know it yet. She looked confused, as many do. Because the world teaches that to ask with desperation is noble. That pleading shows passion. That worry proves responsibility. But in the realm of spiritual law, none of these things hold. The law does not reward emotional sincerity. It only responds to inner structure. And that structure is built by truth. Not by hope, not by anxiety, but by speech in harmony with divine order. When you say, I need money, you affirm its absence. You identify yourself as one outside the stream. You affirm disconnection. You affirm incompletion. And by law, what you affirm becomes what you live. Divine supply is not something you acquire. It is something you uncover. The gold is not in the future, it is within. But the veil of need clouds the vision. When you say, I need, you do not move toward manifestation. You delay it. Because need focuses on lack, and lack is not a divine quality. It is an illusion born from forgetting. God does not operate in need. God operates in is. The spiritual man does not say, I need a way out. He says, there is a way, and I am being led to it. The spiritual man does not say, I need more. He says, I already move in the field of infinite supply. He speaks not what he sees, but what is already completed in divine mind. And because he speaks lawfully, his outer world reshapes to match the rhythm of his inner word. I have seen this happen too many times to doubt it. One student of mine had been struggling with rent for months. She affirmed abundance. She visualized open doors. She journaled. She did everything but correct the tone of her speech. Every conversation was filled with panic. Every sentence began with, I need to figure this out. She thought she was being productive, but she was rehearsing fear, rehearsing disconnection, and the law was obeying. I told her, do not ask again. You've already been heard. Now act as if it is so. She was silent for a moment. Then she said, what do I say instead of I need? I answered, say, thank you, Father, that this is already handled in divine perfection. From that moment forward, her tone shifted, and within 1 week, her rent was paid in full. Through a source she never expected. The law did not delay her. Her inner posture did. Need is a very subtle enemy. It hides behind desire. It wears the disguise of sincerity. But the law does not read your mask. It reads your pattern. And if your pattern is rooted in absence, then absence will come. Not because you are wrong, but because you are obeyed. This is why I do not ask my students, what do you want? I ask them, what are you claiming? Because claiming is spiritual. Needing is emotional. The beggar wants, the divine man claims. You must train yourself to stop identifying with need, not just in speech, but in posture, in expectation, in imagination. Do not walk like someone waiting to be rescued. Walk like someone appointed to carry wealth. Do not pray from panic. Pray from place, a place already chosen for you in divine mind. You are not trying to convince God to help you. You are realigning yourself with the part of you that already has. This is why the words, thank you, are more powerful than please. Please implies distance. Thank you assumes it is already done. Please speaks to a reluctant giver. Thank you speaks to a faithful law. Speak as if it's done, because spiritually, it is. In divine mind, your demonstration is already complete. The perfect home, the perfect income, the right relationship, the exact next step. It is done, not being decided, not being considered, already complete. Your work is not to invent the blessing. Your work is to remove the static in your own field, the noise of fear, the chant of need, the fog of doubt, and you remove it with speech. Speech corrects the lens. It restores the field to its true shape, and that is why I do not allow my students to speak carelessly. They must not describe the delay. They must not joke about failure. They must not identify with their conditions. Every word is a lever. Every sentence is a bridge or a wall. When you say, I need, you build a wall between yourself and your good. When you say, it is done, you open the gate. This is not performance. It is law. You are not trying to manifest something new. You are learning to speak in the tone of what already is. And until you speak lawfully, you cannot live peacefully. The student who still says, "But what if I really do need," has not yet understood. You may have a human need, but you never have a spiritual one. In the spiritual realm, nothing is missing. You are not trying to fill a gap. You are learning to stop worshiping it. You are not empty. You are infinite in disguise. And the moment you stop describing yourself as one who lacks, the law will show you what has been waiting all along. There is a law of the tongue, and until it is mastered, the student of truth cannot enter abundance, not because the world is unfair, but because the law is unbroken. The tongue governs the gate between the invisible and the visible. It is the bridge, the passage, the portal through which substance becomes form. And man, not knowing this, uses the tongue to describe what is, when he should be using it to declare what must be. The average man believes his tongue is for expression. The spiritual man knows it is for direction. There is a great difference. One speaks to release emotion. The other speaks to release design. One vents, the other decrees, and the law does not honor the former. It only moves for the latter. A man once came to me in despair. He had done all the work. He had visualized. He had tithed. He had given to others. But his supply was frozen. I asked him what he said aloud when he received a bill. He looked down and admitted, usually something like, "Here we go again," or "I'm so tired of this." I nodded. Then your life is not shaped by what you hope for. It is shaped by what your tongue has made law. And so it was. The spiritual law is exact. Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. Not guessed, not questioned, established. The word decree is not soft. It is not gentle. It is legal. It means that when you speak, the world is listening and organizing accordingly. That is why the tongue must be guarded more than gold, because it spends power faster than any currency. You may think your thoughts are hidden, but your speech is not. And speech, when repeated, becomes a signature written on the scroll of the subconscious. And the subconscious is never late in delivering what was ordered. There is no such thing as harmless complaint. There is no such thing as a neutral story. There is no such thing as just being real. All these are patterns, and all patterns are heard by the law. The law, being perfect, must execute. So speak what you are ready to receive. If you are not ready to live in overflow, stop saying you are always behind. If you are not prepared to hold the blessing, stop describing yourself as cursed. If you are not willing to rise, stop laughing about your fall. Every sentence is a seed. Some will bloom, some will rot, but all will take root somewhere, and that somewhere is your life. The tongue is not a toy. It is the key. I have told many students, before you act, speak. Before you change careers, change speech. Before you try to find a new source, establish a new decree. Why? Because the outer world only adjusts after the inner speech has been sanctified. God does not manifest through panic. God manifests through pattern. And the spoken word is how the pattern is formed. Man must learn to speak as if the door is already open, not as if he is knocking. As if the light is already on, not as if he is begging for fire. This is not arrogance, it is accuracy. There is no virtue in saying, "I'm waiting for things to get better." That is not faith. That is avoidance. Instead, the spiritual man says, "It is already better, in the realm of divine mind, and I align my words with what is already finished." That is obedience, and obedience opens every gate. I once knew a woman who had practiced spiritual principles for years, but could not escape a cycle of financial collapse. When she came to me, she said, "I say my affirmations every day, I tithe, I pray, but I don't feel anything shifting." I asked, "What do you say when you open your wallet?" She looked surprised. "Nothing, I usually just sigh." And that was the problem. The tongue is a gate. A sigh is not a decree. Silence is not alignment. Every time she opened her wallet and said nothing, she reaffirmed nothing, and the law, being obedient, delivered accordingly. I instructed her to speak daily with precision. Divine substance fills this wallet now. Money flows in perfect ways under grace. Not as a wish, as a law, as her spiritual identity. She followed this without wavering. In less than a month, her situation reversed. Not because the law changed, but because her instruction did. You see, the law is never late. But the tongue is often misused. There is a rhythm to demonstration. The tongue sets it. When you speak in alignment, you accelerate. When you speak in doubt, you delay. When you speak in contradiction, you collapse. When you speak as a vessel of the divine, the law moves mountains. Some believe this is superstition, but I tell you plainly, it is structure. When you align your speech with the completed vision of divine mind, the result is not magic, it is mechanics. Every man holds a tongue of gold or rust, and by its use, he becomes rich, or remains in repetition. The choice is not random. The choice is made, sentence by sentence. So train your tongue. Let no contradiction pass your lips. Let no casual self-diminishment be uttered. Let no fearful forecasting be rehearsed aloud. Say only what you are ready to hold. And say it with the calmness of one who already knows. Say not, "I don't know how." Say, "I am guided to what is mine." Say not, "It never works out." Say, "All things are unfolding in divine order." Say not, "I'm cursed with bad luck." Say, "I am surrounded by divine right activity." Speak not what the world says. Speak what the law requires. In doing so, you become not a reactor, but a ruler. You stop describing your situation and start defining it. You stop chasing proof and begin producing it. You stop blaming fate and start embodying law. And the law, having been called by name, cannot help but obey. There is an order to demonstration, and that order is spiritual first, visible second, inner first, outer second, invisible first, tangible second. All failure comes from reversing this order. Man waits for the outer to give him permission to believe, but law demands the opposite. Believe, and it shall be established. Speak, and it shall appear. Walk, and the way will open. You cannot receive what you doubt in secret. You cannot hold in hand what you deny in spirit. You cannot live in overflow while rehearsing fear in silence. The law does not obey your effort. It obeys your essence. And your essence is formed first in the invisible field, by word, by vibration, by command. The world has taught man to honor evidence, but the law demands that he honor pattern. Divine mind does not respond to probability. It responds to principle. What you hold as real in the unseen becomes what you walk through in the seen. I once knew a man who tried to prosper by logic. He calculated, he worked, he planned, he hoped. But his heart was full of doubt, and his words full of reaction. When money did not come, he said, "See, it never works." But that very phrase was the reason it didn't. He was waiting to see it before he would say it, and so it could not arrive. The law does not follow delay, it follows decree. This is why I always tell my students, speak first, feel second, see last. Do not reverse the rhythm. The outer always lags the inner. Just as the fruit follows the seed, the visible follows the word. You do not dig up a seed every day to check its progress. You water it, you protect it, you speak to it as if it is already alive. And so it is with wealth, with opportunity, with right work. You speak what is invisible until it has no choice but to appear. A woman once came to me saying, "I've done everything, but the money isn't here." I asked her, "Have you given thanks for what is already yours?" She replied, "But I don't see it yet." And I said, "Then you are not giving thanks. You are negotiating." Gratitude is not a reaction. It is a recognition. You do not thank life when it gives. You thank life because it has already given, in the invisible, and you are aligning with what is spiritually complete. The invisible is not a vague mist. It is structure. It is blueprint. It is substance unformed. Your work is not to invent, but to agree. And agreement happens in your inner field, long before the outer becomes legible. This is the secret of spiritual architecture. All things are built twice, once in the field, once in the world. The student of truth does not build with hands first. He builds with word. He builds with thought, soaked in belief, carried by reverent repetition. He builds as God builds, through vibration and decree. Let there be light. Not, let me try to make light happen. No, the decree came first, and the light obeyed. When man begins to live this way, he stops measuring himself by outcomes. He measures by alignment. He no longer says, "Nothing's changing." He says, "I have changed." He no longer says, "Where is it?" He says, "It is already done. I am walking toward what is waiting for me." That is spiritual maturity. The refusal to speak contradiction just because delay appears. The student who only believes when he sees is not yet ready for demonstration. The student who believes while he waits and speaks as one who governs, that student is already prospering. Invisible wealth is wealth. Invisible favor is favor. Invisible opportunity is already coded in your field. Your speech brings it forward. Your gratitude accelerates it. Your consistency seals it. The law does not respond to your timeline. It responds to your tone. And when your tone is steady, when your decree remains pure even when conditions are loud, then the outer must rearrange. It has no authority of its own. It only reflects the inner order you've chosen. Do not ask when it will happen. Ask what you are commanding. Do not ask why it's not here yet. Ask whether your words match the truth of completion. Do not ask why others are blessed. Ask whether your field has been properly instructed. For the law does not play favorites. It plays back what you've established in the invisible. A student once told me, "I affirm, but then I feel foolish when I look at my bank account." I told her, "Then you do not yet understand. The affirmation is the command. The balance is the echo. Do not mistake the echo for the authority." She nodded, and for the first time, she spoke her truth without needing outer confirmation. The very next day, a door opened, not from her effort, but from her alignment. The invisible must be obeyed first. The field must be planted before the fruit arrives. The tone must be set before the music can begin. The decree must be established before the supply can take shape. This is not theory. It is spiritual geometry. Exact, absolute, and activated by choice. You do not wait to believe. You believe to stop waiting. You do not chase money. You command it through inner order. You do not try to feel abundant. You speak the truth of abundance until your field accepts it as law. And once accepted, the outer cannot help but shift. That is when miracles come, not as surprises, but as fulfillment of a sequence already in motion. So today, I ask you, will you keep describing what you see? Or will you finally speak from what is true, even if no one else sees it yet? The one who honors the invisible receives the visible in perfect time. The one who speaks from structure walks into substance. The one who no longer waits to see is the one who begins to reign. The law does not move through emotion. It moves through structure. Many people confuse loudness with power. They repeat affirmations like chants. They write goals over and over. They speak of prosperity while shaking inside. But the law is not fooled by volume. It is moved only by alignment. The student who affirms 10 times a day but cancels it with one careless complaint has not built structure. He has made noise. The spiritual world does not respond to noise. It responds to order, and order begins with clarity, silence, and precise declaration. You do not repeat because you are trying to convince something outside of you. You repeat because you are etching something within. The structure being built is not out there. It is in your subconscious field. It is the mold, the channel, and unless that mold is clean, clear of contradiction, fear, and flattery, it cannot hold the shape of what you seek. A woman once said to me, "I say all the right things, but nothing changes." I asked her to show me her journal. Every sentence began with, "I want, I hope, I try, I'm working on it," and I told her gently, "These are not commands. These are apologies." The law does not respond to apologies. It moves through certainty. You do not try to have. You claim what is already yours in divine mind. I am now connected to the endless source of divine supply. My wallet is filled because I am aligned, not because I strive. These bills are dissolved in perfect order, through channels known and unknown. These are not mere affirmations. These are spiritual blueprints. Each phrase is a container. If the container is solid, meaning no contradiction, no anxiety, no split intention, the law flows through it without delay. If the container is cracked, the supply leaks. This is why we speak less, but more precisely. You do not shout into a storm. You cut through it like a thread of lightning. The law is exact. If you say, "Money always runs out," and then later say, "Abundance flows to me," the law records both. And whichever is repeated more deeply, through tone, fear, or emotion, becomes the dominant structure. Many people speak 2 channels at once, and they wonder why their reality stalls. But the law is not slow. The container is confused. You cannot host divine supply and a panic script in the same channel. You must choose. Once chosen, every word you speak must serve that channel. You stop describing your situation and start feeding the field. You stop reciting your struggle. You stop building altars to the past. You begin speaking from identity, not injury. And the true identity says, "I am not trying to become prosperous. I am already aligned with the divine structure where prosperity lives. My speech is the evidence. My stillness is the proof." You may think, "But what if I still feel doubt?" And I will tell you, you do not need to feel faith to begin. You need only to speak from the structure that faith will one day fill. Your feelings catch up to your speech, not the other way around. Structure is built in layers, and the tongue is the trowel. When you repeat a spiritual truth daily, without panic, without strain, you are not being mechanical. You are being architectural. You are laying brick by brick the invisible temple from which your demonstration will emerge. The casual man leaves holes in the wall. The focused one seals every corner with law. There is a reason Florence never said, "Repeat this as many times as you can." She said, "Speak once, with belief, and the word is established." But until your belief is stable, repetition serves as reinforcement, not performance, not superstition, but divine engineering. Do not ask how many times to say a phrase. Ask how purely you can say it, without canceling it an hour later through gossip, sarcasm, or anxious storytelling. One true statement, held in silence, is more powerful than 1,000 flailing affirmations. You are not trying to hypnotize the universe. You are simply speaking the native language of law. And that language is built from silence, clarity, and completion. Speak it like it cannot be revoked. Speak it like it was never in question. I obey divine law. Therefore, my supply is instant. I align with the structure. Therefore, the structure supports me. I speak what I already carry. I no longer leak. I no longer rehearse lack. These are not just words. These are closures. These are divine locks snapping into place. And when enough structure has been restored in your field, the flow begins. Sometimes gently, sometimes all at once, but always right on spiritual time. No longer ask, "What else must I do?" Instead ask, "What must I stop saying?" No longer ask, "How can I get more?" Instead ask, "What must I stop leaking?" No longer ask, "Where is the money?" Instead ask, "Have I built a channel strong enough to hold it?" Because the law is already pouring. The only question is, can your words hold it? The law is not personal. It has no emotion, no memory, no preference. It moves with the structure you give it. It responds only to what is declared clearly, without contradiction. You may have spoken fear in the past. You may have reinforced lack. You may have built your reality using the bricks of worry and emotional noise. The law did not punish you. It obeyed you. Now, it will obey you again. When the tongue returns to alignment, the structure returns to flow. There is no performance here, no need to prove your worthiness, no need to explain your intentions. You are not asking the law to love you. You are instructing it to move according to your divine identity. And when that instruction is clean, unshaken by fear, free from apology, the law does not hesitate. It fulfills. You are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for a sign. You are no longer performing hope, rehearsing fear, or begging the unseen to intervene. You have already spoken, and now you walk in agreement with what you have spoken. Not because you hope it will work, but because you know it already has. This is not arrogance, it is order. You do not argue with gravity. You do not question electricity. You do not plead with sunlight to rise. You recognize their nature, and you align yourself accordingly. So it is with the spiritual laws that govern supply. The moment you align your speech with the pattern of divine structure, you begin to live above randomness. You move beyond probability. You live in sequence. You no longer ask, "What else do I need to say?" You say less, but with more precision. You stop repeating out of doubt. You speak once and seal it with stillness. You do not dig up your decree to check its progress. You water it in silence. You hold the tone without flinching. And because you no longer shift tones mid-sentence, the field no longer returns confusion. There will be moments when fear speaks again. Let it, but do not join it. Do not echo it. Do not repeat the old phrases that once kept you small. Let them pass without your voice. You are no longer responsible for what fear says, only for what you choose to establish. And what you now establish is structure. You are no longer leaking power through contradiction. You are no longer dividing your field with double speech. You no longer affirm one thing and describe another. The tongue has become consistent, and consistency is the gate through which supply flows. You do not need to speak loudly. The law is not moved by volume. You do not need to feel perfect. The law is not emotional. You only need to speak from the place of knowing, not from what the eyes see, but from what the Spirit already knows to be complete. And what is complete is this: you are not chasing money. You are not attracting it. You are not performing for it. You are permitting it. You are establishing the internal structure that makes its arrival lawful. And once the structure is sound, the supply no longer wanders. It locates you. It remains. Do not ask again. You have asked enough. Do not plead. Do not monitor. Do not wait like one being tested. You are not being tested. You are being obeyed. The law is now executing what you have already spoken. From this point on, you speak only when speech supports structure. You are no longer filling space with anxious affirmations. You are no longer narrating your progress. You are simply walking through what is already unfolding. And when you are tempted to check, to measure, to ask, is it working? You stop. Because the one who knows no longer needs reassurance. The knowing is the reassurance. If you forget, return to structure. Not emotion, not urgency. Just the sentence that holds. I have spoken. The law obeys. There is nothing else required. And let that be enough. You are no longer building belief. You are living from it. You are no longer reaching for truth. You are aligning with it. You are no longer asking for support. You are speaking as one who carries it from within. You do not need to see results to remain in certainty. The results are already in motion. The evidence will catch up with the decree. And when it arrives, you will not be surprised. You will recognize it, not as a miracle, but as a return. Because what you have sent out is now returning. And what you have commanded is now arriving. The law has received your word. It is now sealed.